said earlier, we pretty much satisfied ourselves that advertising that is based around an emotional, central, big emotional idea is more effective. I was referring to this result. So we can see that just pure rational messaging doesn't get anywhere near the effect you get in the marketplace. And by the way, that X column there is giving you the very large profit effects. And as you can see, emotional priming, absolutely.
I think when it comes to the music, there's no sort of formula. You get asked this question quite a lot. And the reality is it's comes down to a week before, and we'll have 2 or 3 tracks that we disagree on. And there is no formula. Sometimes we have, last year's Christmas, it was there from the very beginning. The year before, there was 2 very definite. There's no real science to it. There's no real. You sort of feel your way around it, and it's what feels right as you're filming it. And obviously, creative teams come in and they go, right, it's got to be this, and invariably, it's not what people think that John Lewis Christmas music should be. And they'll always come in with an Elton John track, or they'll come in with and it's actually something that's completely unexpected and maybe from somewhere just completely different that normally rises to.
We always say if we start with we want an idea that allows us to create merchandise, we'll have got it wrong. We would never ever do that. We start with the best idea, and if that allows us to produce merchandise, fine. But if it doesn't, we just wouldn't go there.
No, on many occasions, even though I was a partner in the firm, clients, I won't say from which part of the world, but clients...
Not Leo Burnett.
No, not Leo Burnett, okay. No. But clients assumed that I was there to serve coffee. And that's what it was in those days, and it took the strength and decency of my partners. I was often working with a tax partner who was a good friend of mine, and it took his guts to say, sorry, she's not bringing coffee, she's actually drafting contracts with me, and she's very competent in what you need. And clients would go, whoa. Now, that has changed a bit. That was in the sort of late 80s, early 90s. But it is still the case in many professions, my old profession, your profession, that women are not given the same platform, the same access, the same chances to actually achieve their worth and perform as they can. And I don't think it's fair, because it's a big waste of talent, creativity, and business opportunity. So I continue, and I will continue to fight for women. Categories of them. Some of them, you bring a problem, and they say, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that. Refer law number so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so. And then you've got other lawyers.
I know this one.
And then you've got other lawyers who will explain to you what is the framework within which you operate, how what you bring to them or the solution that you have is not going to work as is, and who will come up with a solution that will be creative because it will digress from the solution that you came up with, and that will be in compliance and in line with the legal framework. So to that extent, I think creativity can be applied to the practice of law.
And the beautiful thing, fearlessness is contagious. Clients want a piece of it. Employees actually spread it for you.
Like I've watched death. I've watched my friends die in gun shootings in my arms as a kid. I've watched through the AIDS crisis in the 80s. I've watched my lovers and I've watched my best friends die of AIDS in my arms. I've watched babies being born. You have to understand the human condition to, and then be fearless to talk about it, and be fearless to do it, even though the studios say it's not what y'all want to see, it's not what you guys want to see. And I've always gone with my heart. I think you bring up another really valid point about going with your heart, and knowing that you throw the dice up against the wall, and it could come out at 7 or 11, and you could crap out. But in your heart, you know that you can look yourself in the mirror and sleep okay.
At BK, we like to challenge that.
In fact, many times we think just the opposite of that. If we don't know if an idea will work, that basically means that it has never been done before. And if it has never been done before, we already love it. So, we know that ideas will grow. But for that to happen, you need to trust uncertainty. This is pretty much the story behind Mac Whopper. When Josh, Tom, and Jono from Y&R New Zealand presented this idea to us in the first place, we surely had many, many questions. Will McDonald's actually ever say yes? What if they outspend us with a much bigger budget on an even bigger idea around peace? Or our franchisees. I mean, they're a really proud group of people that love the brand. What will they think about the idea to potentially partner with our biggest rival in history? And most importantly, what if we get our asses sued? So the list of questions was surely very, very long, as you can imagine, and you can surely decrease uncertainty a little bit by doing some research. But you know, many creative people hate research. And what we don't see as an issue. We actually really like to do research. Honestly, we don't understand why people struggle so much with doing research. If you have the opportunity to test something, we believe you should do it. It can save you money, it can uncover a blind spot, and it can provide reassurance to stakeholders. We are all up for doing research.
Fast forward to 2017. Now, there's been a lot of concern about this company, Cambridge Analytica. Now, there have been stories that they played a very influential role in Brexit and in the election of Trump, although I noticed they gave a talk here just 2 days ago at Cannes and made vehement denials that that was true. But certainly, if you have a look at their own marketing materials, you'll see that they've collected around 5,000 data points on 220 million individual Americans. And they get that from a range of data sources, like those personality quizzes that you do, like which Disney character are you? Apparently can be used to have a lot of insight into how you think. They combine that with a whole lot of other things, like voter registries, to have essentially a platform that will allow them to manipulate how people might vote in an election. Now, you don't have to necessarily believe that Cambridge Analytica are the dark overlords of data. I mean, in many ways, I think this is basically just 10-year-old data science. But what concerns me much more is the fantasy that they're selling. I mean, most people in this room, if you've worked in ad tech, you're doing this type of psychographic profiling all the time. But I think there's a difference from when you're trying to sell shoes from when you're trying to flip an election. And that's the thing that concerns me most here. That even if these guys don't yet have the really new technology to do this, very, very soon, within the next couple of years, machine learning is much more sophisticated in terms of these types of capacities.
And I always think of this story, which is one of my favorite stories. This is the famous match back in 1997 when Kasparov faced off against a computer that IBM had spent 10 years building specifically to beat him, which is a kind of unfair start to the thing. And it was a weird moment, because it was this moment that we built up, this idea of what technology can do in relation to the human. We built up this moment where suddenly this thing that we thought was one of the highest human achievements, which was playing chess, this kind of ultimate human mind game, and we built a computer to beat the best human player. And the computer won, and it was this moment when we were like, damn, like what are we good for anymore? What are we going to kind of replace this with? And there's two really interesting aspects of that. One of which is that we understand how Deep Blue beat Kasparov. It was just a really, really, really powerful computer. That's the first thing. But we understand it could just think more moves ahead. The other thing was Kasparov went away, quite pissed off, came back a year later with a new kind of chess. He invented a thing called advanced chess. And advanced chess is human and computer teams. And something very weird happens in advanced chess. It's now quite easy for even quite a regular-sized computer to beat the best human player. But it turns out that a human with quite a small computer can beat the biggest supercomputer on the planet. There's something strange that happens when these two lines of thinking kind of pair up and work together in some way that produces an entirely different way of playing the game.